Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 95th episode of Concerned Dabs Podcast. I'm your host, Katie MK, and our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, she is the owner and publisher of THC Magazine. She is a Nez Perce tribal member. She is a businesswoman making it happen in the cannabis industry. Her name is Mary Jane Oatman. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Jane Oatman.
Hi, everybody. It's
Yeah.
great to be on.
Yeah, man, it's good to talk to you again. We had you on the show. That was like a year ago or something, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were just barely starting to do your magazine thing back then. You were just kind of talking about it in the planning stages, I think, and now you got issues and interviews and all kinds of shit.
Four.
Man. Yeah. See,
About
that's
four
tight.
of them out.
Can you talk about that? Like how it came to be and how much fun is the work? You know what I mean?
Oh, I'd love to talk about not only how much fun is the work, but how much work is the work. So I started the first one, launched it in February of 2020. And I didn't plan for the pandemic. So my model was live event distribution. I was going to be traveling all over the nation, hitting up, like the AHEC conferences, ACES, NCAI, all of the regional to work on distribution quarterly because that's how our people are. They're always gathering at these different events and looking for like these tangible evidence of change to bring home to their communities to say, what, we can do this successfully.
Yep.
Other tribes are out there doing it.
Yep. That's
And
real shit too. Cause it is like it's almost like our leadership is afraid to try anything the first time unless some other Indians did it first. You know what I mean? So you kind of do have to prove it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Before
then
they'll even take a proposal or an idea and think about it. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I thought that even especially with, with the information that we still need to get out there for our elders to end a lot of that negative stigma that still exists for our own plant medicines that we've had that relationship with, since time immemorial. And so that was why I put my grandma on the cover of the first issue is, my OG granny, she spent time in the federal penitentiary over marijuana in the 80s, straight out of the Nez Perce Indian Reservation. And so because we're here in Idaho and we still deal with all of the, ish here in Idaho, I was like, I have to kind of elevate what our own tribal people here in our communities still face with the weaponization from the local popo. And
yeah, man. It is. It's still an easy arrest, man. You know what I mean?
oh yeah.
Especially in Idaho. I'm like, fuck. My anxiety just fucking goes through the roof, man, as soon as I come down the hill and shit, man. I'm just like, fuck. I caught charges in that state too when I was in college, and it wasn't cool. And everybody's like, oh, it's not like that anymore. I'm like, yeah, it is. I see Indians get pulled over all the time. Yeah, man.
I mean, especially if you're brown, then they detect the odor of marijuana. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't even have to be a user, but
yeah,
they use that just to trump you up on the side of the road and start ripping your shit apart.
yeah. Yank you and shake you down, man.
Um,
Smells like I like it. Fucking smells like potlatch, not weed, man. You know what I mean? Like shit,
yeah.
whatever, officer.
So after I got that first one out, then I was actually able to get probably about 80% of the distribution out through different events. Traveled down to Rincon Indian Reservation, over up to Seattle, hit up all the dispensaries over in that network. Portland, went over to Minnesota to the Winona Ladue Kemp Conference. That was like pretty much one of the last live events in March of last year, and then after that, it was just shifting gears, trying to figure out, with the different phases of lockdown and everything. On the second issue was even just to access my designer. She works in a space where she had to step away from work and couldn't even access her own work computer. And so the second issue was just slightly delayed, but it gave me some time to really strategize and reflect on the education that I wanted to be providing. So in that second issue, I was able to come out with the Tribal Nations dispensary map and start to catalog data, because I mean, we still need a lot of data to accompany this. And for me, it's still the preservation of stories still really critical. So on the second one, we had the the map and started showcasing all of the tribally owned and operated dispensaries, like tribal government owned and operated, and then all of the tribes that have been approved by the USDA to operate their farms. And
Tight,
I don't
man.
know. I got to keep going, got to keep moving on the front. I did an amazing collaboration with one of our Nez First brothers there. Got Seven Wilson's work on the cover.
Dope.
And
Dope. Shout out to
it,
Seven, man.
yeah, it gave me some time also to just like figure out how I can create a business model out of this, because the first issue, I mean, that was all like cashing in my savings to try to figure out how I'm going to pay for 10,000 print copies, go to this big old party back in Washington, D.C., where we had some amazing support from Congressman Howland. She was scheduled to actually be at our event and she couldn't make it. So she provided a video about the support of THC magazine. And we've been
Hey,
able to utilize,
that's
yeah.
cool, man. That's cool. Deb Holland.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've been also utilizing the different social networking spaces and forums, as well as the magazine itself, to leverage our community support, you know, for her. So this last issue, the fourth issue of THC magazine, we actually had a support for Deb Howland page, a full page. You know, because there was a lot of our communities that after she was nominated, everybody thought that that was, you know, the end of the road. She still needed a lot of advocacy on the ground to, I mean, there's just some dirty old white men in that Congress, and some of them didn't want her in there, and they were not afraid to show it.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys, yeah, kind of grilled her a lot when she was being
Yeah,
confirmed, dragging their feet. It's like, man, shut the fuck up and say yes, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah. But
So the
that yeah, that, so that was issue number 2 that you had
yeah,
Deb Holland in? Okay.
no, so she was actually in the first issue, and then the second issue was Indigenous women in hemp and cannabis. And we featured, and that's the first time that we grabbed the map and pulled that in. And then we featured, you know, women from all across the country that are working in different aspects, from, you know, helping tribes create plans and protect, you know, the legal side, to, you know, women that are on the plant touching side, a couple of glass blowers from out of Portland area. And then
That's cool.
the third issue was dedicated to Indigenous men in hemp and cannabis. And we were able to collaborate with the Emerald magazine to identify 100 Indigenous owned and operated cannabis businesses. And we were
That's
like trying to
dope.
find, yeah, we were
I
all,
didn't think there was that many, man. That's cool.
well, under media, there's of course THC magazine, and then listed under media as well as Concerned Dabs podcast.
Hey, all
Yeah.
right. Thanks, Mary
Yeah.
Jane.
Is a
Yeah.
podcast that focuses on educating listeners about the cannabis industry and leaders in it. The series features interviews with entrepreneurs, musicians, social justice advocates, and more.
Oh man.
10,000 print copies, you're in it.
Yeah, thanks, girl. We appreciate that, man. You know, because our reach isn't huge, but we're consistent. We still put out content weekly, so we do believe in the cause. It's good to talk to you about it now, man, because you were in the planning stages, and now it's like, nah, 4 issues, yo, you know, like that shit's tight. Like, so you do the interviews and the writing and all that stuff too, and it
So I've been really blessed. I mean, there's a shitload of
because dude, yeah,
badass people out there doing stuff, and so I've had the opportunity to source content writers that are writing for the magazine.
I
People, some of them are people that have never even really written before, but they want to share their story. We were able to feature in the fourth issue, you know, a mom that's enrolled member of the Fort McDermott tribe who had to leave her home, her community, and reservation because her daughter had special needs and she needed to be able to access quality medical cannabis and compassionate care. And so she uprooted her whole family, moved them to Oregon, where she was able to start working towards healing. And, you know, the doctors, you know, down in her community before, they didn't even expect her daughter to still be alive now. And she's thriving. She's doing really well. And
that's
so,
good,
you know,
man.
I just,
I
yeah.
love stories like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's Veronica and Evian. And it's an amazing story. And I reached out to her. I mean, just found her on Instagram, and I'm just, you know, trying to find different ways to connect and tell stories of people who wouldn't otherwise be featured or shown. And then of course, you know, when in the men's issue, I would have felt like, rookie status if I wouldn't have at least reached out to Alex Whiteplume and have him and give him the opportunity to tell some of the stories that he has not had a chance to tell, and to a native owned media in cannabis, as opposed to, the mainstream ones that just kind of give little sound bites of what's happening in Indian country.
Yeah, man, that's why I do this podcast too, is because I'm not sound biting nobody. I'm not editing anybody. I might make a 10-minute clip just because there's a cool conversation happening in that 10 minutes, but I don't want to censor anybody who's saying some truth, you know what I mean, or telling their
Yeah.
story. And fuck, that's all you see on TV or in the news, you know what I mean? They're gonna tell a story and they're gonna use that little sound bite or that one fucking quote, and
Yeah.
completely out of context. And we grew up that way with the the paper quoting people from our res too, so it's like kind of used to it. But you can create other content that
Yeah.
doesn't do that and allows people to tell their whole story, you know what I mean?
So what I usually do is when I'm finding people to, when I'm looking at the kind of the theme of the magazine and reaching out to them for content, is I give them the option of being interviewed or telling their own story. And it's been about 50-50 now, which kind of surprises me that, about 50% of the people say, I don't really know how to tell my own story. And so then I give them the option again, I can interview you and write a story about the specific content that we're discussing, or we can do it Q&A style so that you don't have to worry about your words getting misconstrued, and it's just straight back and forth style. And so it's a big blend of what's happening in here, because some of it's very, I even gave my mom the liberty in this last issue to write something that was just a little bit more creative writing, if you will. And she came up with a story about counterculture to counterculture, talking about how it used to be this specific aspect of culture. You remember it because you were young and growing up in it before it was not as less taboo, to now over the counter purchases with these
Yeah,
predominantly white boys in these dispensaries that are just like, oh man, this one's got the highest THC, and just like acting like they
yeah,
know all kinds of shit about
yeah.
everything.
It's dude, Washington State too. I'm just not
uh,
impressed at the rec stores. I'm just like,
yeah.
man, you guys ain't got no game, bro. Like, where's the talent? It's at the fucking garden store on the weekends, dude, buying fucking
Yep.
shit for their fucking garden, dude.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. You know what I mean? And
It is.
so in
I want to
Oregon,
see the.
a little bit of the talent squeaked through and got licensed, but even there, it's like the
Yeah.
guys who really got game are still just going to the garden store and still got packs for the homies, but it's not, man. Like we need to see people who were in it, like you're talking about, get licensed and be able to operate, because that's who fucking suffered for the laws to be the way they are. You know what I mean? And
Black market still hopping.
it is, dude. It is, and it always will be
Oh
when
yeah.
they're trying to keep us out of the rec market. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, fine. Jason Ortiz, he posted this fucking thing, and I thought it was shit, man. And I shared it. He said, man, the same guys who are trying to prevent me from having a license are trying to crack down on me for not having a license. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, he's right. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, can I have one? You know what I mean? Oh, I need 4 million in equity just to fucking apply for
Exactly.
that in this state. I was like, Jesus Christ, dude, that's crazy, dude. And so it is. It's a lot of black and brown people need to get licensed. And then also
Yeah.
just people who have charges on their record too. You know what I mean? Because fuck, you really can't. It doesn't matter if it's weed, if it's a felony, like sorry kid, we're not gonna hire you. HR said no later, you know? And that, I don't know. I can't be the only kid who has had that happen to him, you know? So uh I want to see that change. And it's, you know,
And that's one of the biggest reasons that I think that shit is shitty in Washington state is, that whole conversation around social equity and what that looked for people's most impacted by the war, first in line for licenses. That didn't happen there. Like everything here in the LC Valley, it's all white owned and operated.
yeah,
And there's
man,
no I mean, you get a few good bud tenders in there that know their shit and care about our people, but 40% of their customer base is our, token people that are over there.
Yeah. And that's there's one company out of Seattle. I think my lady buys the carts. I can't remember the name of the company, but they sell themselves as person of color owned. And I think even maybe did it say women owned on there too, I think. But it's on the packaging. And so my lady's like, well, I'll buy these ones, and they're like a good product, you know what I mean? But it's a way to support, when people put it on their packaging. And if people
Yeah.
don't, then you assume that they're not. You know what I mean?
That's really one thing that I'll go into dispensaries like all over Spokane or, central part of the state. And I don't really bother here because I know that the flower from our tribal farms on, the other side of the state, they're not coming over here on this side of the state. But even just to go into some of these other dispensaries and ask them that question, they don't know, because we don't have a good system for that yet. But that's what I envision. Like that was one of the reasons of like creating this map, and then further down from the map, like really just narrowing in on the logos, because marketing and branding is key.
Hell
And
yeah.
we're gonna have some like crazy counterfeit knockoff shit going on out there. There's gonna be people that are trying to like look down to earth and back to nature by like putting fucking headdresses on stuff and putting feathers on things just to make it look native,
That
just for
dude,
the association.
there's a farm called Native. They got $25 eights at fucking Peace of Mind Cannabis over there on 29th by the fucking 7-Eleven. And I looked up on their web. I'm just like, it's exactly like you described it, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, you guys aren't native owned. You're just trying to fucking right click the swag and make it look cool on your
Yep.
packaging. You know what I mean?
Native roots out of Colorado, same thing. It's like it's shitty, but that's also why I see tribes needing to get early in also on figuring out. I mean, we're regulated to death in gaming. I
Fuck
mean,
yeah.
you know that from, how your family's been able to, address some of that. I mean, like your dad on that, on the, like with what the work that he does in enterprises, I'm really happy to see that we're working on marketing and logo and like securing our place and position. And I know that once we enter into the cannabis industry as a tribal nation, that isn't going to stop, because that is that's leading to nation trading. I mean, I
Yeah,
can see. I mean, think
I
about all
agree.
those places on the East Coast. They don't have a land base. They don't have water. They're just not growers, but they need to be able to source, tribal to tribal trade networks. So
I
that's what
agree.
I see the seeds getting planted for now. So tribes
Yeah.
that are out there protecting their logo, getting trademarks on there so people can't be stealing their shit.
Yeah, with freight by airplane and shit, yo. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Air
it'll be dope.
sovereignty.
Yeah. But the other thing we talk about my pop, I think he's cool for getting us a per cap a couple of times. You know what I mean? I feel like he's the only Indian in those meetings who's like, oh, we're out of the red, we're in the black, but let's give some to our tribal membership. And it's not a huge amount ever, but it fucking is something, and it helps.
Oh man,
And
there's some
I,
families that need that like way more
yeah,
than you could even imagine. And
yeah, and I just he's probably not gonna listen to this episode, but if he does, man, shout out to you, Pop. Like I dig shit like that. It's it is a certain form of activism in his position that
yep.
other people in that position wouldn't pipe up in those meetings and say those things. So I think my pop's a cool cat for that, man.
Me too. I see
Yeah,
our business is going in a better direction than they have in the past, for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's all right, man. He's all right. But, we get along a little bit better now that we're older. So like, yeah. The the so that which issue? That's the second one that has the map in it.
The second, third, and the fourth. So the map is going to
Oh,
be
it's
in
in each.
every issue
Okay,
from here on out.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's tight.
actually,
That's really tight because it's gonna
yeah.
grow too, man. There's gonna be more spots on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was the main reason that I wanted to keep it in every issue, is to be able to watch it grow. But then I actually bought the copyrights just to use the map for Tribal Nations and Dispensary map. And then the map maker Aaron Carpella got a hold of me after the second issue and said, I got people hitting me up to buy it from me all the time, and I had to tell them I don't own that map specifically. So there will be a collaboration in the future to have like a big poster size, map that dispensaries can have on their wall, and
Yeah,
it'll be used in education curriculum.
that's tight, man. Yeah, cool shit, Mary Jane. I just like that because it is like there's. I'm not the only guy doing it either. Like you're doing the media shit too, and it's really. I tried to be super cannabis, and sometimes it's like I got to do art and stuff too. But your shit is not
Yeah.
only just it's fucking native shit too. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that's cool because it is people do want to get their business out there and be seen and heard and make some
Yeah.
fucking noise, man. And it's cool that you have a platform to help them do that. You know?
And there's just so much going on. It feels like, I'm only quarterly, and I'm going to stay that way because it's hard work getting all of the content together. I mean, because the first issue, it was fucking Ghost magazine. So when I'm trying to sell ads, people are like, no, thank you. Like,
Yeah,
because it was just a concept at the time. But by
yeah,
now, I'm getting to the point where I can sell ads more regularly and finding a way to monetize it. And I just need to just push just a little bit harder, because I'll get to where I know that my print costs and my distribution costs are covered, and then I'll just stop, and then I'll go on to the next one. And but there's more capacity in there to be able to make a little bit more money, so that I can start doing like this latest issue that I did. It's like a multi collaboration. One of our tribal designers, Laura Lee Souza, she designed these shoes for my son Jackson.
oh,
He
cool,
actually
man.
had two pair of them made, and I decided to I got one off of a pair of them off of Jackson, so that I'd be able to raffle them off. And I'm just like old school anyway, so I love this like old school magazine. Clip it out, send it in the mail,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so we're
yeah.
gonna have a drawing for those shoes on 7/10 live at 4:20 at THC Smoke Signals podcast.
Oh, tight, man. That's
That's
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
we we,
that's
we
the
got we
next.
got yeah, we got to put that link in the description. You know what I mean?
Okay,
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah. 'Cause I don't know. I want to enter for the raffle for the kicks. You know what I mean?
size 10.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's cool, man. That's
Yeah, she's just an amazing artist, though. She's done some fabulous work. She's really talented artist for sure. All of our people are, and that's just it. I want to find ways to support, startup businesses of our tribal people. I'm really excited to, have conversations with our bro Jackson McCormick on getting him in here, because I know the first time that I'd seen a write up on him, I think it was in Oregon Leaf, and I was like, oh, this is badass. And I read that article 2 times just so
yeah.
that I could try to find like where in there's like he's Nimi Poo, he's like one of the first, native owned license in Oregon, and I really wanted that to like just pop out a little bit more. But I don't know, I'm proud of him, so I want to find a way to get that story out in this network. And then
Yeah.
I'm doing a collaboration with Skunk Magazine to share some of our content in their magazine as well.
That's cool. And yeah, man, Jackson McCormick, that he's really talented and really intelligent. Talent in the marketing and branding
Hmm.
side of cannabis also, you know what I mean? Like he in Portland, I don't think he is known as a native dispensary except to other natives, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
in Portland, he's known as a fucking tight dispensary. Like they
Oh,
got
I
they got
know.
they got top shelf shit. Like he knows what he's doing. He's doing a really good job, and not just at work, but he can articulate his shit in an interview for anybody he's talking to, and I just love that about him. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who's in the room. He can
I've
get the
been
message through. You know?
seeing him a lot more in the clubhouse, and I had done a shout out to him because he was in one of the audiences of a room that I was moderating, and then I got people hitting me up from that area to try to figure out how they can get in contact with Jackson, because I've been trying to get on his shelves. So I thought that
Yeah,
that was kind of funny,
yeah,
trying to hit
and
me up
dude,
to get to Jackson.
and it's fucking impossible, dude. Like the year that I worked there, because I got some cultivation homies too that you
Yeah.
know, some of our friends overlap, but some of them don't, and I'd be like, yeah, bring it through, and I'm like saying yes, like, bro, let's grab these fucking Gorilla Glue packs right here. He's got two of them. He's doing them for two. Nah. He's like, what kind of newts does he use? You know what I mean? Like there's so his
Yeah.
criteria is really, it's hard to get on the fucking shelf there, man. So like
It
that
should
makes
be
me
that
laugh
way.
too. Yeah.
It should be that way everywhere, though. That's what I would love to see, like, just a higher fucking standard for the whole industry. And that's what I've noticed that, a lot of our tribal farms are doing that. They're raising the bar, and that's why they are a little bit harder to get. And you don't see anything that's coming out of, the other side of Washington over here in this rec market in Spokane and the Pullman Lewiston area or Clarkston area.
Yeah, man, I'm just not impressed. It just,
Yeah.
I'm getting my card this year so I can I got a homie who's gonna let me put my card at his crib. So I'm tired of it. Like fuck, I just want to make my own, man. And I don't want to just keep
Yep.
keep hitting on the store shelf or anything. But it's just like, nah, I got some seeds. I know what I'm doing, so I'd rather
Yeah.
just make my own. And I say this every episode too, but that's what I want to advocate for if it does become federally legal, is I want everyone to be able to cultivate their own.
Yeah,
You know?
home grow is really important to me. I'm like, I'm ready to fight
Yeah,
it.
yeah, man. And yeah, I just wish Idaho was a little more progressive, man. It just sucks that the legislature in Boise too is like, nah, we got to figure out a way to make sure it doesn't happen here. I'm like, what the fuck? It's happening everywhere, dude.
Oh, I know.
Get with the times. I don't know how
Uh,
else to say it.
yeah, Senate Joint Resolution 101. It's crazy that I mean, I guess I expected it to pass the Senate, and all of the tribal attorneys are like, oh, it's not going to pass the House. But I reached out to all of them and asked, so what's the position on this? Are you guys going to be at least submitting testimony that this bill is an attack on tribal sovereignty? And it's important that they at least make that voice and make that position, just in case it does go through, so they know that once it's heading towards a constitutional measure on the ballot to vote yes or no, that we're going to be ready and we're going to start rallying our people. And then I was talking to my Hama and I was like, who we need on this? Like, if he knew, but he's off just being all celebrity status and stuff. But I think Dogface 208, he's from Idaho here,
Yeah.
and I'm like, shit, he needs to get his mouth in the legislature and rallying people, because that's a lot of power of persuasion and voice that he has now with that new celebrity status. And then I just saw in the news, what is it? One of the native business news, or one of those where he's just like getting ready to sign a deal to grow at Tyson Ranch or have his own strain or something like that. And I think that that's good that he's building those blocks. But if he ever wants to do it in Idaho, he better speak the fuck up right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That guy does have a lot of reach, and there's a way that he could do it and be positive also. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
if he's listening, Dogface, we need your help, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idaho needs you, man.
Come home.
Yeah. Yeah, man, because yeah, real cool cat. I like seeing his interviews and
Oh,
stuff
so do
too.
I.
Yeah.
Definitely deserve that Person of the Year award, because like with all this COVID shit, people were just down in the dumps, and it was just something so positive. And then for him, to be, coming out of Indian countries, Arapaho, and it just his vibe was just, it was good for everybody, not just our Totokan people, our Indian people, but just everybody.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Cool dude skateboarding, drinking juice, man. And jamming Fleetwood. Just fucking vote for that guy, man. Shit.
Dog dog face on the cover of THC magazine.
Yeah, that would be tight too. That would be a sick interview. I think Mitch and Jess, we tried to holler at him last year, I think, and he's too famous.
Yeah.
But that was gonna be our angle too. Is, hey man, we're Nez Perce, man. What's up? Get you on the podcast, do an interview. Yeah, because I don't know, he seems like a cool cat. It'd be cool to ask him some questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the more current issues? Like, what have you been working on lately, content wise?
Content wise, I am working on an article with a biodegradable packaging solutions guru who happens to be one of our native sisters, lives over in Oklahoma. She's a member of the Potawatomi tribe. She's doing some badass shit. A technology company from a tribally owned and operated technology company that's working on some uh, trace and track solutions. So he's kind of got it a little bit more robust than the current systems that are out there, because he's got more of a end product, like a bio reward solutions for getting people more incentivized into recycling the products that are out there now, like all of the millions of glass jars that are filling up the dumpsters and the doob tubes that are laying all over the beaches and shit like that.
Yeah,
Finding
yeah,
ways there to kind of incentivize people with proper disposal.
yeah. It's weird how compliance creates so much fucking waste too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's a
And
requirement. You
yep.
know?
And it's a compliance solution that his software runs off of. So it was really it was badass. We were actually down in Oklahoma at a conference. I was down there. He was in San Diego. And I had taken the THC magazine and put his QR codes on there so that we could do a real-time demonstration. And it was just crazier and shit to see that real-time tracking, where you can track it by product or by flat. So if somebody's like, no, I never got my package, you could key it into your phone and find out exactly where it is along the transport train or whatever.
That's cool, man. That's hella cool.
Oh, and then fiber and textile. I'm just like, there's a lot going on in the tribal communities and with just some of our indigenous entrepreneurs. And so this issue, instead of focusing more on tribes, I'm going to just kind of take a step back and just try to see what some of our indigenous entrepreneurs are doing out there, the branding, the companies that they're creating, and capture some of those stories.
Hell yeah. Cool shit, Mary Jane. Man.
And they're fucking everywhere. That's just what I'm learning is, it's a lot of work because I'm doing all of the sales. I get, family help with distribution, getting 10,000 magazines out through, flat rate mail. I'm keeping my workout going that way.
Yeah.
But there's just so much going on out there that I'm starting to get an amazing backlog of, different content so that I can start to create, because it comes out by season. So it's not like, a
Yeah.
specific month, but, we lived in seasonal rounds, and I just thought it'd be like culturally appropriate to try to get a magazine out in season so that this fall I'll be able to have like a harvest, for the fall issue.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, because fuck, dude, weekly is tough sometimes, man. Like,
Oh,
I've been taking weeks off recently. Like, I took a couple weeks off in February, and it felt good to not, it's like, no, I don't have to do that before Sunday. It's like I could chill
yeah.
out this weekend and watch fucking fights. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun, but yeah, making it fun and not a job so much is important too.
Yeah, I got to go on the Adam Dunn podcast, and that was like a whole different experience. I didn't even know that I was scheduled until I looked on Facebook and saw a poster, and I'm like, what the fuck? Start messaging, and it's like, oh,
Was
here's a
that,
link.
was that the MTV doctor guy?
Yeah,
That's cool, man.
that was crazy.
That's
Oh, no, no,
cool.
no, no. No, no, not that, not though. You're thinking Adam Carolla.
Oh yeah, that's what I was
No, no,
thinking.
no, no. No, I just know that I wanted to start my own podcast, and I thought, well, I need to, go on more. And yours was actually the first one that I was ever on.
All
And
right.
it was actually kind of what
Yeah.
planted those seeds for me, as well as like, I'm thinking these stories can't just live in print publication. Every issue is archived in the Library of Congress for that preservation of our Indigenous story. But within these stories, there's so many other opportunities for these people to have a voice. And so I was thinking like THC Smoke Signals podcast.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Zoom's easy, man. Like it's
Yeah.
super easy. So yeah. I don't know, man. I encourage people to podcast away, man. Like I do this one, and then I'm with Beers Bongs and Bullshit too, man, in Spokane. So I
Oh,
get
right
that. I
on.
get that fix every week almost, you know, and I like to do it, man. It's fun
They're
to
they're
put
like
those
little
stories
time
out.
capsules, though. I mean, for real, there's going to be people like, some people are just in such a rush now, and there's just so much competition. But I feel like this, what we're doing now, is going to be more valuable in the future.
Yeah, it is. Like my buddy TJ, he's the main guy over there at Beers, Bongs, and Bullshit. I try and tell him this too, and because sometimes it's like, fuck, we have to write shit down and produce an ad or something like that. And I tell him we got to think like a media company and not just like a podcast, you know? It's like
Yeah.
we gotta handle it. We gotta do sales. We gotta do everything on our own. So you're doing that too, man. I gotta commend you because it's hard.
Oh,
You know what
that's
I mean?
crazy to say that. So about 2 months ago, that's when I really shifted gears, realizing that there's more wheelhouse here for THC media, and so I built my first commercial for a nonprofit,
All
as
right, man.
THC Global Media. So that's what I started branding it as, is THC Global Media, and we're gonna have, I got all kinds of stuff going on. It's starting to feel a little bit overwhelming. Plus, there's just what I want to do on the side with my own land investment, some of this land buyback stuff. So I got some stuff going on there that's more about food farming
Yeah,
and opportunities there. But
yeah, man, that's tight. Yeah.
plus, I'm always thinking, like, I'm not like a super duper future planner, like with like 5 and 10 year plans. But I actually got that asked that in a podcast that I did about my 5 year and 10 year plan. It kind of caught me off guard for a moment, and then I was like, had to like I know this shit because I know in my mind I have this vision for things. So it's not that I'm not planning; I'm just visioning or dreaming. And
Yeah.
so I've really always wanted to have, a place within psilocybin development and research here on our homelands as well, because our plant medicines are important. I don't necessarily see that tribes are looking in that direction necessarily, but there are a couple in California, and so even if it's just farming some of the things that they need for cultivation and things like that on that side, become a rye farmer then.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was in AZ, I would see cotton fields. And I never saw that shit before. You know what I mean? And just driving down, I'm like, what is this shit on the road, man? And I'm like, oh, it's cotton. And then I see, I'm like, oh, it looks like it does in the movies. You know what I mean? It's like thorny bush with some white puffs on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was weird. And I don't know if any Indian tribes are doing it, but I know that in that part of the map, that's one thing that they grow.
Yeah.
And that's cool. It'd be cool if Indians grew it and made some t-shirts or some fucking denim jeans or something, you know? Because I'd buy it just because they're Indian, man, you know? It's like they grow their own. They make it into, I think that's tight. Because I saw one article too about Levi's making like a hemp composite denim. It's not totally
Yeah.
hemp. It's mixed with cotton, but they made a material with hemp in it for pants at least. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Because
It's
that's
crazy. So I just happen to have all my swatches, and so most of them, just because the durability of the hemp. I mean, they come from like this. This is like a swatch sample of different hemp cotton blends
oh dope.
from
So
this
so
company.
that's a company that makes it?
Yeah, yeah. So they're making all kinds of fiber and fabric. So you can get stuff that's 100% hemp. If it's 100% hemp, I mean, it's soft. They're able to, mill it down to where it's like, soft, natural fiber. But if,
Yeah.
if it's if it's going to be something that you're going to want to wear against your skin, you're going to want to have something else kind of woven in with it. Hemp
Word.
silk's my favorite though. I wish I could put it out into the universe now, but I'm working with a design concept for a wedding dress,
Oh, tight,
a
man.
hemp silk wedding dress. And so the designer, we still need to go back and forth. But once I get to blast her name out there, I mean, I get like big old lump in my throat just thinking about doing design work with her, because she's like super duper huge. But this is a textile and medium that she would love to work in. And I
Yeah.
have the sourcing place to get it and
Well,
get a lot of it.
I think that's the shit that you found that man, because there's a lot of fucking hemp farms, a lot all over the country. And it seems like mostly people are just fucking turning it into distillate for gummies and shit like that. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
making oil. And there's not a lot of companies doing stuff like that, making materials and textiles. Like that's fucking
We
rare
got
as
one.
shit, dude.
We got one in Idaho, in
See,
Post
that's
Falls, fucking Idaho.
that's dope, man. I
Yeah.
didn't know any of that because it is like that's companies that do shit like that are gonna make money because they
Yeah.
can source that hemp for cheap. There's so many fucking farms everywhere, and it's to make something other than CBD gummies. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think is dope because there's enough of that. It's like you need to do something different, something really more helpful than
Yes.
chew this for anxiety. You know what I mean? Like fuck, come on, man.
Yeah.
It does a whole bunch more than just that. Like because people will post that online, like hemp batteries and stuff too. And I'm like, okay, how much does it cost? Where is there a company that makes them? Like,
Mhm.
it's a good idea, but to actually bring it to market and make it for sale, like it's a different story. So it's cool that you found companies that are doing shit like that, man. That's dope.
There's another one that's doing, Enviro Textiles, and it's native owned and operated out of Colorado. Barb Philippone and Summer Star Haskaway, they have this amazing company there, and they've just been trying to, figure out how to, with international exports. I can imagine with the COVID, it made it even more difficult. So, trying to find ways of, a build out throughout Indian country so that, we can meet the supply chain demands and be able to start finding ways to get things to market here at a reasonable cost. And there's, some little kinks in the system, but I really feel like our tribes play a pivotal role in that because, we hold tenure over 25% of the nation's lands, with those water rights associated with that. And many of our tribal communities they're just now starting to learn about phytoremediation and bioremediation and how we can actually be cleaning up our lands at the same time as producing fiber. That's where I see it's at for our tribes is in the fiber market. If they can, have some side hustles with some CBD companies and things like that, all good for producing medicine and more quality, affordable access for people. But I see fibers where it's at for our tribes.
Yeah, me too, dude. Like it's fucking wide open. Like there's,
Yeah.
make all kinds of cool shit. I always think of the Cheech and Chong movie too, where they fucking have the van, big truck, and it's all made out of weed. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It'd be cool to see a company do that for real in present day. I think that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
like an old Model T version.
Yeah, I think that'd be tight. Yeah. Okay.
I love your shirt. I love your shirt.
Oh, thanks, man. My eats got that for me for Christmas, man. So I try to wear it when I'm gonna be on camera, just to rep a little
Nice one.
bit. Yeah,
That's
you
what
know.
I was doing, repping our golf course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's tight, man. That's the new logo, Red Wolf.
Yep.
That's sick, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, they got so April 24th, we're gonna be hosting a THC golf tournament at the Red Wolf golf course.
Tight.
Little
So
fundraiser.
that's because it's in Clarkston, man. So is
Yep.
it gonna be you can smoke outside and play 18 holes or something like that? Is it? Yeah, because I think that'd be cool, especially if
Yep.
here's a designated area you can stand
Hmm.
over here and fire up and not worry about getting fucked with, man. Like I don't know.
That's a consumption lounge. I know Washington's rules are again super jacked up, but I mean, we got our tribe there who's like doesn't even fall under any of those rules because we're not compacted with Washington State, but it's in our treaty territory. I mean, we have the biggest gray area
Yeah,
for a consumption lounge.
man, that was my whole pitch to Tomcat and Ramon back in 2016 too. Is like, dude, you guys can get a license in Oregon just like any other
Yes.
company, dude. Like, what the fuck? Everything made sense on paper, spreadsheet, everything. You know what I mean? And it just
Yeah.
fuck. That was 5 years ago now. So you know
Yeah,
what
they
I
got like
mean?
one cute little dispensary with a monopoly there in Wallowa County. That's it.
Yeah, you know. And I don't know, it just, I can't control the pace at which our leadership moves towards their goals. You know what I mean? So I try to just do my own shit and yell around when I'm supposed to, but once I'm just
Yeah,
like, I just do my own shit. Try to
that's
pay
how it's been
attention.
for me. That's how it's been. Like I, figure we'll just make some strides and drop some gems back along the way. But we have everything that it's everything's pretty much turnkey, and I think it's just operating out of fear with our state government. I mean, it's I just got asked in an email yesterday if Idaho was the Alabama version of the Northwest. And I know what they mean by that. I mean, we get a lot of pushback. I mean, shit, just for existing.
I never heard that before, but fuck, I'm like, man, it was that cop from Alabama. I say shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, that's funny, dude. That's funny that you got asked that. That's dope.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is, man. It kind of is. The Alabama of the Northwest.
Yo.
Fuck. So, I know I asked you this question last time, but I gotta ask it again because making new moves and everything, and it's my cookie cutter question. I ask it to everybody, two-sided question. What do you feel has been your best move on the path to where you are right now?
The best move that I've made on the path to now was just doing it. Like, I didn't care if it was coming out of my own pocket. I had to do it when I did it. Like, if I would have waited until this year, shit would not be aligned like it is now. And so, just like, I know it's all fucking cliche, but Nike, like, just fucking do it.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Ain't nothing to it
I mean,
but to do it.
fear it keeps a lot of people from moving, and I had a really good friend. He's like, man, that's messed up that you think of it like that. He says false expectations appearing real. Like you have all of these false expectations that are keeping you on the ground when you are already doing it. Just fucking move. And he was saying that like in relation to the podcast, like, why wouldn't you? I
Yeah.
mean, there's absolutely no reason to move forward with THC smoke signals. You have all of the story content already started. Because of COVID, I've had to do Zoom interviews with most of my interviews that I did personally, or organized with other content writers. So I just needed to get over the fear of like, oh shit, people don't want to hear what I have to say. And I realized it's not even about what I have to say. It's kind of just giving a platform for the story itself.
Yeah. Yeah, man. For real, it is. That's what I try to do. People, oh, it's your show. I'm like, yeah, but I interview folks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Yeah.
not my hour to fucking talk. Some folks do need a little bit of guidance with questioning and shit. You know what I mean? But for the most part, it's like, nah, man, it's their thing. I want to hear them talk about it. Um. So yeah, fuck yeah, put podcast on, man. The other side of that question, what do you feel has been your biggest mistake on the path to where you are right now?
I love my family. Love, love, love my family. But the biggest mistake is trying to push my family into doing this when they're focused on other things. And I needed to just realize that I can build my team, and it's gonna just kind of organically happen. But I was trying to force my team to just be family only team. And sometimes family and business don't work. So that was probably, I mean, it caused friction between moms and I.
Yeah,
And I think that she would be a phenomenal salesperson for doing this work, but she's just not in it. You know what I mean? She just wants to be on the distribution end and help with more creative things, and she doesn't want to have to be. I told her, like, you can make commission off of this shit, and like no matter what I do to tell her like how she can make money doing this, she doesn't want any part of the sales side. So I've been primarily doing all of the sales. I've actually gotten an offer from two sales folks to come on and do an under commission for the magazine that would free up some of my time. So I'm
that's
exploring a couple of different options.
that's dope, man. Yeah, because that's beers, bongs, and bullshit is just Spokane based, you know what I mean? They support a lot of local businesses too and have them on the show, but that's one thing we have to start doing too. Is it's like, man, we got to make sales calls for sponsoring episodes and shit like that. And a couple of the bros are like, oh fuck, I don't know. And a couple of us are like, man, I did that job before. Like, we could do it. It's okay,
Yeah.
man. You know, we'll be all right.
Let's just get a little deck going, a little media kit for everybody so that we're all on the same page and just go for it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's actually, you know, you get a few no's, but once you get that and a yes, you know, you get some wind in your sail and just keep going. And I would also say, like, you know, a lot of people now that are saying no, or that did for me in the magazine, um, you know, I would still call them the next issue and then the next issue. Uh, and you know, they, some of them came around. Like, I would just be persistent, and like what you were saying earlier about consistency, that really is key. And the reason that I was continuing to make those calls is I wanted them to know that, you know, the first issue of THC magazine wasn't a one hit wonder. We're going to stay consistent, we're going to keep going, and you're going to keep hearing from me.
Hell yeah.
I'll wheel and deal. I'm an Indian, I barter.
Yeah. Hell yeah. My homies always laugh at me for that too, because I'm like, man, what can we trade, man? You know, I'm like, man, yeah. Only time, like, but last night we watched the fights and we gambled dollar bills on the UFC fight, so it was like, it was fun. You know what I mean? But usually I try to be like, man, fuck money. Let's do something different. You know? Yeah. So we got like 8 minutes left for an hour. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on or speak about in this interview on Concerned Dads podcast? Is there you know, like, is there any ideas or concepts you would like to promote for the future? Is one of my cookie cutter questions.
Yes, I would love to. So what I had mentioned earlier about fiber specific tribes, you know, I grew up in the ganja side of it, but even with that, there's a lot of shitty Mexican weed. But aside from that, you know, I know a lot about that side of it. I am more interested in the fuels, the textiles, and you know, fiber production, so much so that I put it into the universe to work on a documentary, because that's, you know, that's going to be, that's where the international world needs to know where tribes can be a power player, and the education for international indigenous communities that are not even as far as we are, and we're still in our infancy, like shitty fucking diapers, like looking out to what Canada's doing, and they kind of bunked it up too. Anyways,
Yeah.
and so I'm really excited about a video documentary, working with, I've identified like 5 different tribes that have a research component to what they're doing, kind of sourcing out some of the tribal college and university communities, and to be out in the field shooting film of them planting their seeds, doing their pre-seed ceremonies, and then just kind of following them throughout the year to harvest for a documentary. So
Dope.
that's what's in the works now.
Dope. Dope. I wanted to ask you one more question. We got hollered at by a sponsor, right? And if they rock with us, cool. But part of our little thing was to ask the guests what they thought about this study. So at Virginia Tech Transportation Institute, they're doing a study in Washington State and other states that have rec weed, where they want people to sign up, and they pay like $100 a month, and then they give you like some mouth swabs and an app to log your intake and your driving habits, right? And so at first, I'm paranoid. I'm like, man, they're gonna try and make a breathalyzer, try to get people in trouble for weed. Like, I don't want to do shit like that. But then, when I do searches and stuff, a lot of the studies that they've done already in California and Arizona say that people are actually more cautious and a little bit safer drivers on cannabis. They slow down a little bit more. They're paying closer attention. They stop all the way. You know what I mean? And so I was in my head, I'm like conflicted, but then I'm like, nah, because yeah, maybe one of their goals is, okay, well, we want to try and make a breathalyzer. But in my head, I'm like, you guys can't. Like, there's no fucking way you're going to be able to prove that. And so if actual weed people sign up for this study, I think that those things would happen. but I wanted to ask you what you think about it.
I personally, I'm all for data and research, but that sounds like a little bit intrusive, a little bit. I mean, because I'm always worried about how they use that shit and flip it and reverse it on us. So I'm kind of a little bit more of on the like, how could we uh, control our security and privacy on one end,
Yeah.
if it could just be a little bit more anonymous, I guess.
Yeah, because that was the main thing too. And they said on their website where you sign up, it's like, yo, none of this shit will be used in a court of law. We can't subpoena you, like any of that shit. And I'm just, because that, I don't know. I was like, people are going to be paranoid about that.
Yeah.
Like, like, and I don't know if $100 a month for 2 years is enough compensation for folks to want to
So is
commit
it
that.
like in beta testing now or something?
No, they need, I think, a couple of hundred people in each state. And so I don't need, it's not even, they don't give you a device. I think they're just I can't, like, I want to interview this girl on the podcast too to ask her about it, but she needed all the questions to be approved by her boss beforehand because she works for the university and shit. So I'm just like, man, I gave her a week to figure. I'm gonna respond, hit her up again this week and be like, yo, what's good with that? Because I have those questions too. Like, how is it? Because
Yeah.
it's, I think one of the things they wanted you to have a 2018 or newer, and then have some sort of the safe technology on your car to detect other cars or self-driving type shit or something like that. So it seemed
Oh,
kind of
rich people
specific.
cars. Rich
Yeah.
people cars.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have one of those, so it's a pretty narrow demographic anyway. So
I guess.
like, but I, I think it's cool that they're trying to answer questions, and that's the questions that I typed to her too. Is like, yo, where did this funding come from? Like, what made you want to do this shit? You know what I mean?
No. Let them roll full bore with this study because it sounds like they're going to be getting some like, you know, fancy like middle class white moms all signing up for the study,
Yeah.
that probably have like really good driving habits, maybe.
Yeah. They're out there. I've sold weed to those ladies in stores in
Oh
Portland,
yeah,
all kinds, man. Yeah, man.
that was my number one customer. I
Yeah.
miss working in the dispensary though. That was a lot of fun doing the bud tender thing. I got to do that for a while and
Yeah.
just check it out and see what that back end, it's like kind of research, especially for us when we see our tribal nation, eventually going to move in that direction. Uh, we'll have our own subject matter experts.
Yeah. Yeah, goddamn right, man. Like that, because that's the thing too, is you guys are having those meetings and not inviting us, man.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a way about that. Because I'm like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't see you motherfuckers anyway. Why are you guys talking about this and making decisions on this without even asking for input from tribal membership who have mad experience in this game?
Oh, it was
It's weird,
frustrating actually when I
strange to
saw
me.
when I saw the first version of the hemp plan, and it was just so corporate centric. I was like, rip that shit up. That's not for our people. And then to see kind of how things have went down in the timeline, because we still have to get it approved in our law and order code. It was, the whole posting notice and everything, but it got approved by the USDA. So I don't know. Something seems weird in that alignment, but I just don't have time to bitch and moan about any of that kind of stuff. I got too many other bigger things going on. And a part of that, I think, is, as you say that, it made me realize that a part of what I want to do includes some of our tribal landowners. And so if the tribe's not going to hold a public meeting to get our people together to ask them, what are your wishes and intentions in hemp agriculture, within the next 5 years, to try to gauge how many of our families want to do this. We know a lot of them have the land capacity, they have the water, they have, all they got to do is rip up those BIA fucking GMO leases and go.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to see happen.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, that's, I want to see individuals be able to conduct business and not just the tribe. It's like, oh well, you could get hired by the tribe. It's like, I don't want to work for the tribe, man. I want to do my own thing. You know what I mean? I'm down to work with tribal members and with my tribe's leadership and stuff, but I want to do my own shit, you know, and I want other people to be able to do their own shit too.
Same here.
Yeah, because I just don't dig the. This seems like the first half of my life, I was always asking for permission. You know what I mean? And now it's like, fuck that. Who's gonna stop me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, nobody is. I don't have to ask for permission. It's just like, how bad do you want it? How hard are you gonna work for it? Are you gonna do that shit or not? You know what I mean? So I
I
don't.
love it.
Yeah. Well,
That's
thank you,
perfect.
thank you. I like your
No,
style too.
no. I actually I think I was in that same space, and it wasn't until, and honestly it was probably until after I had my daughter Ruby, where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself permission
Yeah.
and not wait for it, because it's, it's between my creator and myself. Not waiting for this other permission from other people.
Yeah, man, for real. Especially from the tribe too. I just don't like that vibe about it, you know. Well,
Oh
talk to
shit.
someone at the tribe, and it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm gonna do a short film this summer, and I had to ask my cuz Tutlo for some help for translation and temp and shit. And that's one thing. He's like, man, if we can meet, so it's not at work, because I don't want to have to fill out the paperwork and do. I'm like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, because it is. It's like, man, I'm asking you for a favor. I don't want to talk to the director or ask your boss or anybody. Like, nah, bro, I'm fucking with you, bro. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, bro to bro.
Yeah. So it feels good to still have relationships like that, but just that is the vibe at the tribe, is talk to somebody and ask if you can.
Yeah. Permit to breathe.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. Fuck
I
all
ain't
that,
lining
man.
up for that shit.
No, hell no. Hell no. For reals, man. Um, Shit. So we're past an hour now, Mary Jane. Is it? I feel like that's a pretty good spot to wrap. Is there
I think
anything else?
so.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to mention? Can you send people to how they can follow you online, or do you guys have a URL for your magazine yet too, like a
Yeah, it's
website?
at free downloads of THC magazine at www.indigenouscannabiscoalition.com. And then, Mary Jane Oatman on Facebook, and at Mary Jane _ flower girl on Instagram.
All right. Tight. Tight. Man, good interview. Thank you for taking the time on your Sunday afternoon to talk to us for an hour, man, about the shit you're doing, because it's dope, man. I think you're making cool moves, and you're starting to make some noise too, and I think it's awesome. So
Anytime.
thanks for letting us ask you about it, man. Thanks for putting us in your issue too, man, as a indigenous cannabis company. Like, that's
Oh,
tight,
hell
man.
yeah. You guys are
Yeah.
my bros.
Yeah, man, means a lot. Like, we appreciate it. And then I'm not gonna drop this episode till next Sunday. So
Okay.
it'll be a premiere link. I'll send you the link, and I just want to share it with folks and not rush it. You know what I mean? And
Sounds good.
if I can squeeze that sponsor in there, then I will. And if not, whatever. We talked about it a little bit. So um
All right.
yeah, dude. And anything you need from me, girl, hit me up. However I can help, So let me know, man. I'm down to
All
collab. Yeah, thanks for taking the
right.
time.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my outro dance, ladies and gentlemen. This was the 95th episode of Concerned Dads Podcast. I was your host, Kenny MK, and our guest tonight, owner, publisher of THC Magazine, Mary Jane Oatman. You can get free downloads of the magazine at Indigenous Cannabis Coalition
.com.
.com. Okay, yeah. So hit that up, check it out. Lots of good stories. Support your indigenous cannabis businesses wherever you are in the States. I also got to give a shout out to my guys in production, Mitchell Wilson and Jesse Curry. This has been a Main Node and Joseph Street Enterprise production.